Hey everyone, Mitchell back here on the Sports Hub. This will be my last video I'll do for hours from now because I'll be taking off on the road to do some stuff in Appleton, Wisconsin after this. So, yep, here's the last one. I'm going to eventually do it. I'm going to do a special edition video where I do a college football picks and the top 25 for NCAA basketball. And then a separate video, and then NCAA football, which will be in a separate video, who climbed up in the top 25, who doesn't deserve to be in the top 25, that type of thing. So very excited to share that special edition with you guys tonight or tomorrow morning sometime. So, yep, ESPN, they have their bowl projections out. They have two guys projecting each game and who would make each bowl game. So, yeah, we'll pull up who they usually have for the national championship game. They have Ohio State and Alabama playing. I would not even watch this game because I can't stand either team. Alabama I can't stand just in general. They win so much. Both teams just win too much. So we'll forget that. That's what ESPN's predicting. Just because it's ESPN. Clemson and Alabama will be in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. That's what they're actually. Let's take our time here and go with Brett McMurphy's ones because I don't want to read two bowl projections when one's not going to happen, the other could. This one's better. LSU and Ohio State. I'll take that over Alabama and Ohio State. Go Tigers there. LSU and Oklahoma. That's not. Yeah, I really. Did I finally find a better one? Let's see here. This is a better one. Let's skip the non-conference game. Let's go to the bigger games here. Las Vegas Bowl. Boise State's actually in a pretty good bowl, and Washington State could have beat Oregon if they did. They would at least be in the December 28th or December 29th bowl, but that's not looking like it's going to happen since they fell short. So they would be in the Las Vegas Bowl in a very good matchup with Boise State. The Camellia Bowl is between Ohio and Troy. New Orleans Bowl, how about Appalachian State? They're 22nd in the nation right now, and they're going to be in a huge bowl game. I think that's huge for them to be in the New Orleans Bowl. That's usually the bowl that Grambling State's in every year. And, no, excuse me, not Grambling State, but Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. I can't believe they're not. Louisiana Lafayette. They're usually in that bowl, and that's at their home stadium, so they usually get the advantage of that every year, but it'd be them, and Marshall's really tough. I mean, it's from the movie. I mean, it's tough when it's also well known that Marshall's in the movie. There's a Marshall movie too, but I guess they're good since they're going to be projected in the New Orleans Bowl. The Gasparilla Bowl is UCF. UCF's definitely down this year, and no New Year's Six aspirations to them. And they lost on a flea flicker, one of their last games a few weeks ago, and they're just not performing to its prime, so they're going to be in a smaller bowl game. The Sheraton Hawaii Bowl is BYU and Hawaii. The Quick Lane Bowl is Louisville and Michigan State. No surprise, Michigan State's only going to be a few hours away from East Lansing South in Detroit, Michigan to face them, and Louisville doesn't have Lamar Jackson anymore. They've really been nothing since then. Bobby Petrino still hasn't been the coach for a while, too. He got fired after a really rough year a year or two ago. The Military Bowl is between SMU and Virginia Tech. The Independence Bowl is NC State and UAB is actually pretty decent this year, so for them to be in that type of bowl game is actually pretty good for them. The Pinstripe Bowl is between Pittsburgh and Indiana. I think Pitt's going to be a good game. They're the one that knocked off UCF with that amazing flea flicker to win the game. Thanks to Quincy Bell for posting that video as that game ended, since I was doing something else at that time, because there's been lots of good games lately. And yeah, that bumped them up to make the New Era Pinstripe Bowl against improving Indiana. In the Texas Bowl, Central Michigan will play a Big 12 school. They rematch against Oklahoma State, who they beat in Oklahoma State on a Hail Mary play. I can't believe they did it. And now they're going to rematch to play them in the Texas Bowl. Central's actually having a good year. They're at their 5th win right now. One more win, they will be bowl eligible. And that's very exciting to know. They'll actually be playing a few days after Christmas. Normally it's a few days before Christmas they would play, but wow, that would be amazing if they played them then. The Cheez-It Bowl is between Wyoming and Iowa State as a projection. The Arizona Bowl is Georgia State and Fresno State, and that's a pretty good bowl for Fresno State because they're usually in an early one too. But them playing Georgia State, that should be a good game if it happened. This is all projections, folks, but I just wanted to give you guys this for fun and for you guys to tune in. The First Responders Bowl is between Western Michigan and Middle Tennessee. The Music City Bowl, which I attended, between Tennessee and Nebraska in 2016. Great time. Phenomenal city in Nashville. You guys got to go if you really want to be somewhere fun. Great places to eat. Great music to listen to. It's almost all free. Great sports bars to go to as well. I mean, yep, the city just has it all, and I would go back any day. One of my favorite cities to visit out for all the cities I've been to in my life. So actually, UNC, they've been down lately under Mac Brown's squad, but they're still having a good enough year. So for them to make the Music City Bowl, hats off to them on their effort this season. They'll actually play Missouri, who has Kelly Bryant, and he's been hurt for a while. But if he plays in that bowl game, I see that being a shootout. I see that one being a great game. In the Redbox Bowl, they would have Nebraska and Arizona State. This is 247 Sports. I'll show you guys this link if you guys want to go there on your free time to look it up. The Redbox Bowl is Nebraska, Arizona State under Herm Edwards' squad. I think that's going to also be a good game. That's another very underrated matchup going into New Year's Eve. Nebraska doesn't have Tommy Armstrong Jr. anymore, so I think for them to be in a Fox Bowl game is huge. The Sun Bowl, it's now Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. They're a sponsor while Hyundai has sponsored this one for years. But that'll make it a lot more interesting. The mascot will be there, and yeah, it's just a really interesting name, and the game will be broadcasted on CBS. Actually, Florida State will play in that game since they're starting to get a couple wins on the board lately. They would play USC, who's kind of down this year, so that would actually be a good grudge match to see what happens there. In the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, they have TCU playing Kentucky. Kentucky only has a few losses more than last year, but that'll do them good enough to at least play in the Liberty Bowl, which is close to New Year's Day. The Birmingham Bowl is Cincinnati against Duke, and Cincinnati is really good too. And they're also another team that beat UCF this year, and that pretty much knocked them out. The Camping World Bowl is in Orlando. It's not a New Year's Six Bowl, but it's a bigger bowl game. Notre Dame and Texas. Texas is really down. Sam Ehlinger's squad, they barely pulled out the win. It was last weekend. They barely pulled out a W, and it was to a team that's not even in contention to a bowl game right now. That's crazy how much they're lowering it since they lost to LSU. And it's a senior year, so I feel bad for how rough they've been doing, but that's the way it is, and that's actually gonna be a pretty big bowl game for it to be on New Year's Day, as they would play Notre Dame, and Notre Dame lost to Michigan last weekend, so that all but ends their hopes for the college football playoff. But they'll be close enough to a New Year's Six Bowl. They're not gonna be in a New Year's Six Bowl, I don't think, but they'll be close enough to it. The Alamo Bowl consists of Kansas State and Utah. In the Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Washington. Iowa is actually very interesting. They're hard to figure out this year. Michigan beat them at the Big House for one of their big wins during the season. And they still have Nate Stanley as a quarterback, so he'll definitely be ready to go. If they're in a big bowl like this, they would play Washington, who's without Jake Browning, and they have 3 losses already, so they're kind of having a tough stretch right now, and I don't think they'll win this weekend either, as they have a tough game against Oregon, but it's going to be good because it's in Washington, and that's what does it too, because when you're the home team and you have more losses than the team that's coming in, there's a lot of potential where you can make an upset, and then we'll see if they can make 9 wins, and if they do, they'll go above the Holiday Bowl type of mark. The Belk Bowl kind of skip. It's Wake Forest, who's very much improving against Liberty. It says South Carolina's lost to Tennessee on Saturday. It makes the Gamecocks out of the bowl picture. I didn't realize South Carolina was out of it, and it's one fewer bowl team, so they would replace one of the teams in the Belk Bowl with an ACC team, and that's what they would basically say. And a 10-win Wake Forest team would be a really good game actually. With it being so weak, they would be in second place from Clemson. Let's keep going. Here. Wisconsin's actually projected for the Outback Bowl. I really like this article because none of the bowl games are generic. They're true matchups. They show really what the previews would be. Wisconsin would play them, and Texas A&M's actually having a pretty good year under Steve Spurrier's squad this year. And I really think this would actually be a very good game. Now we're on to the New Year's Six. I mean, I haven't seen the University. Never mind. In the Gator Bowl, Michigan will have Mississippi State in that one. And Michigan's really back after winning a big game against Notre Dame. As you'll see in my last video, it's a really exciting that they got the win, and it's a momentum change, as the article says. Michigan could play in New Year's Six, but yeah, the Big Ten is they could be left at home with some shockers, like the article says. Virginia, Florida. For the Rose Bowl, Penn State and Oregon, it's obvious because Penn State's the second in the Big Ten right now in the college football playoff. Most know already. I'm going to skip that. But LSU would play Clemson, and then Alabama would play Ohio State for the 2 versus 3 matchup. Georgia and Oklahoma would play in the Sugar Bowl, which would be a very good game against Jake Fromm's squad. That's actually a really big game, 8 versus 6 this weekend when they had their rivalry game in Jacksonville against Florida, which I'll get into tomorrow. Yep, Alabama, LSU is big this next weekend. And then Ohio State and Clemson would be the other two, as I mentioned, the playoffs. So thanks, everyone, for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you wish to. And make it a great Tuesday.